Good morning. I was called in question the other day about saying good morning every time I speak. You may be watching this at night, but it's still good morning because it's morning when we're filming this. The story I'd like to tell you about today is one of the stories about my friend Old Honker. You might remember Old Honker. He and I went deer hunting one time and wound up with a goat falling in a crevice in the earth. Honk and I like to bird hunt, and we were wanting to do some bird hunting, and he said, there's just not any good places around here to hunt. Do you know of anybody, anywhere that we could go and kill some partridges, as he calls them, quail, I call them, birds? But I have a friend who has quite a large farm down in West Tennessee. I talked to him, and he said, "Oh, I'd love for you to go down there." He said, "Go anytime you want to," and he kind of laid out how for me to get there. I had a good idea about it, but he said, "Now, there's a gentleman lives in the old house there. He is a preacher, and if you go, plan on tipping him a little. He'll always say, 'I'll put that in the church offering Sunday,' and I suppose he does." He said, "I don't know, but suppose he does." So we set a date that we were going to go. We were going to get up about midnight and drive to try to get there by, daylight or thereabouts early. So I go up to Honk's. I've already got my dog in the pen in the back of the truck, and Honk brings out his dog, old Rounder, and we put him in there. And our dogs, they're familiar with each other, so they don't do any fighting. He also brought old Betsy. Old Betsy's quite a unique old dog. She's, I believe at the time, was 17 years old. She had gotten so feeble, she couldn't hunt anymore. And she was too old to raise pups. Honk really loved the old dog, and he just, and he said she'll howl all day if Rounder's gone. And matter of fact, Rounder was, I was going to say her pup, but he was actually her grandson. But Honk had her a long time and had raised lots of pups from her. But Rounder was one of her grandsons. But he said she'll howl all day, and Maud won't like it, so let's take her along. Said she'll get out and walk around there in the field with us. Yeah, that'll be fine. Well, as I've said before, Honk doesn't pass up a Hardee's. He has a Hardee's habit, really, really bad. Well, time we drive from here down to West Tennessee, we've made 2 or 3 Hardee's stops. The last one we made, we thought we were about probably a half hour, 40 minutes, something like that, away from where we were going. Honk while we were in the Hardee's, he got just a plain biscuit. He said, Betsy just doesn't chew meat very well anymore, but she still likes a biscuit. And we had put Rounder and Snyder, our dogs, in the pen in the back of the truck. My truck had a back seat, so we had put Betsy there, spread a towel on the floor, and she was laying in the back seat where it'd be a little warmer on her. She's old, He said, I'm kind of concerned about Betsy. He said, she's just not been feeling well here lately, but I know she wants to go. So he takes her back a biscuit. Well, when we get to where we're going and we stop, there's no lights on in the house yet, and I pull up there in the driveway, and the light comes on. I know the man will be out in a few minutes. Honk steps back to check on Betsy. He said, John, Betsy's not eating her biscuit, and said I think she's asleep. Well, by the time the gentleman came out that we had realized Betsy had died before we got there. I said, well, Honk, do you want to go back? Honk, no, we've come to hunt. Let's hunt. And I said, well, he was talking. Well, the gentleman came on out, and I told him, I said, we have an old dog with us. Well, she died on a trip down here. And he said, "Oh," said, "I'm real sorry to hear that." He expressed his condolences to us and he said, "If you don't want to haul her back home, I have started a little cemetery right over on that little hill over in that field. Now, I've never buried a bird dog there, but we have buried 4 good coon dogs there. We coon hunt down here. And you could see it was probably good raccoon country. There was small, not really a river, but a good-sized creek that ran through the property. Up close to 1,000 acres, and most of it had been in wheat. So it was definitely bird hunting country, but it was also, you could tell that it would be good coon hunting country too. And he said, "I'll be glad to let you bury her there if you don't want to haul her back." Honk said, "Well, let me think it over while we hunt. I'm not sure." So we turn out our dogs, and they're raring to go. And we have a good time that day. We really do, in spite of losing Betsy. Honk gets in pretty good spirits. They're big birds and they're plentiful, and our dogs perform very well. Snyder's not much of a dog, really. I tell him sometimes he's an imitation dog, but he does very well. Rounder is not near the dog that his grandmother was, but he's okay. During the day, Honk says, "I'm thinking about this guy wanting Rounder. I'm thinking about letting Rounder go and starting all over again since I've lost Betsy. That's the only dog I have now is Rounder, and I may let the gentleman wanting him have him and just start all over, start afresh." And I told him, I said, "Yes, sometimes it's good to make a new start." Well, we have really done well on the birds that day, and we take them on back up to the house, and the gentleman comes out talking to us, and we tip him a little bit for his services. "I'll put that in church Sunday," he says. And Honk tells him, "Well, I've studied over the offer that you made, and I think I'll take you up on that," said, and the man said, "Of course, I'm a clergyman, a preacher, if you will, and I'll be glad to conduct a little service over your dog if you'd like for me to." Honk says, "Well, about how much do you usually charge for that?" "Oh, I have just the standard $10 service, and then I have a little special service I do for $12.50. Honk said, "What's the difference?" He said, $2.50. But we laid Betsy to rest there on that little hill down in West Tennessee, and we came on back home. That is our story of the demise of old Betsy.